Ever since I was a little girl, I just remember I could not swallow pills. And I knew it was going to be a struggle because all the prenatal vitamins are huge. Mm-hmm. They're stinky and they make you feel nauseous when you take it.
Taking your prenatal is probably the worst experience.
Yes.
I was gagging with my prenatals, and I even did the flavored ones that was like, okay, citrus.
Pill popping has only become popular in the past 50 to 60 years. We were trying to get pregnant. We had 2 pregnancy losses, and it was through that journey that my husband started looking at all the options. Being pregnant is hard enough. Getting pregnant is hard enough. And so we really wanted to redesign the experience of nourishing yourself. And we finally came upon our prototype, which was a prenatal bar.
Hi guys, and welcome back to the OnlyMoms podcast. Today I have Hannah Kim Varamini. I said that correctly? Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. She is the co-founder of Tend. Her lifelong aversions to pills inspired her and her husband, Bazad. Mm-hmm. I have to confirm, I don't want to get this incorrectly. To reimagine the prenatal vitamin. After a long fertility journey with 2 pregnancy losses, she has become passionate about nurturing women in all the stages from fertility to pregnancy to postpartum. She's a trained visual arts and startup consultant who has traveled the world, spending time in Italy and in China. She's received her BFA from Cornell University and MFA from California Institute of the Arts. And she lives in Los Angeles with her husband and 2-year-old daughter. Mm-hmm. I love it. You are such a rock star for so many reasons, and I can't wait to dive in. But I think first, let's give our audience a bit about your timeline, right? Like where you started this journey with your husband and now to where you are now.
Yeah, well, I'm so excited to be here.
Yay.
Thank you for having me. I guess Tend started when, my husband was on his journey. He studied nutritional science. We actually went to the same university. So he did his PhD at Cornell, but we didn't know each other. We had about 100 mutual friends, but we never met.
What a small world.
And so I, on the other hand, studied painting in college. I then traveled the world, lived in a whole bunch of different places, did some research in Southern Africa, came back to DC and was maid of honor at my best friend's wedding. And that's where Bazad was. He saw me and he was impressed by my speech.
Wow.
So we had our first date in New York City. And it was actually, funny enough, it was televised on national TV because it was 8 a.m. on New Year's Day, 2013. And they were interviewing people about some obscure financial legislation. And my husband, Bazad, who's a great speaker, said something really intelligent, apparently. Right. And so they were like, hey, we're up from CNN and we want to televise your response. And so our date was televised on national TV. So I thought, maybe there's something going for this guy.
Oh my gosh.
So fast forward, several years, we embark on this journey to try to get pregnant. Bazad has this nutritional expertise. Mm-hmm. I have this aversion to pills. Ever since I was a little girl, I just remember I could not swallow pills. And it was, I don't know what it was, but I could never do it. So I knew it was going to be a struggle because all the prenatal vitamins are huge. Mm-hmm. They're stinky and they make you feel nauseous when you take it. So I was choking down these prenatal vitamins. We were trying to get pregnant. We had 2 pregnancy losses, and it was through that journey that my husband started looking at all the options. Mm-hmm. He was looking at the back of the labels. He was saying, why isn't there a better solution? Right. Number 1, these prenatals are hard to take. They're huge pills. And number 2, all the ingredients are actually synthetic. Mm-hmm. And his nutritional knowledge, knew that actually nutrients from food are better. So he dove into the lab. It was COVID 2020, 2021. And we were in our apartment. He transferred our kitchen into a lab. Yep. He was, concocting a bunch of different things, taking it to our friends, trying it out. And we finally came upon what it was our prototype, which was a prenatal bar. So only made of fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, and something that I could eat and enjoy rather than struggle through.
Right. I love that story. And you know what's crazy is that with your pill aversion, so many women that don't have that still struggle when they get pregnant.
Yes.
You know, taking your prenatal is probably the worst experience.
Yes.
Even if you're not experiencing nausea while you're pregnant. I mean, I was gagging with my prenatals, and I even did the flavored ones that was like, okay, citrus, we can do this, we're gonna get through it every morning, right?
It's a mental game that you have to play. And you know, being pregnant is hard enough, getting pregnant is hard enough, and so we really wanted to redesign the experience of nourishing yourself. You know, pill popping has only become popular in the past 50 to 60 years, and before that, where do we get our nutrition? From food. And so we're really trying to get back to that kind of ancient wisdom and, you know, bring some joy into what should be, you know, an enjoyable experience, which is nourishing yourself and your baby. And so why are we so reliant on pills, which are, you know, hard to take and really kind of unnatural? Like you're like just popping things, you know, and forcing them down. And so we're trying to redesign the entire experience.
I love that. One thing that's crazy to imagine in your world is that anyone that has a side hustle or has started a startup understands just the stress that goes into building that. And you were building that and going through this pregnancy journey all at the same time. Can you talk to us a little bit about your mindset? You know, you mentioned the 2 pregnancy losses. How was that?
Yeah. Oh gosh, it was so hard. I think until I went through my miscarriage, my 2 pregnancy losses, I didn't realize how little there was to know about it. You know, maybe it's more well known now, but 20 to 25% of women have a pregnancy loss. And so it's not uncommon. I started telling my friends and they would say, oh my gosh, I had a miscarriage too.
And you're like, we've been friends for 10 years and I never even knew that.
Because there's no occasion to bring it up. You know, there's no kind of societally accepted like way to bring it up, because it's something that, you know, often happens really early. No one knows you're pregnant. Like for me, I was surprised that I got pregnant and then it was suddenly over. And so my first pregnancy loss was at 8 weeks. I had to get a DNC, and, you know, I didn't tell that many of my friends. And it just, I realized that this stigma really needs to be talked about more. And so, I mean, it was very hard for me because here I was going through this, you know, infertility for a couple of years, and I'm, you know, as we're building our business, messaging and looking out for all of these pregnant ladies, like messaging them, oh my gosh, congratulations on your pregnancy. And meanwhile, you know, I wasn't sure whether it was going to happen for me. And so it was a really hard kind of, you know, paradoxical like space that I was in. But I think looking back, you know, our 3rd pregnancy was successful. And so we have a toddler who's now 2 years old. And I definitely treated, you know, my body differently after the first and second loss. It was kind of interesting that in my 3rd pregnancy, that was the only pregnancy where my husband actually had formulated the product, and I was actually able to take the product. And so I had a totally different mindset of preparation. You know, I did a lot of acupuncture, like, you know, got really invested in holistic wellness, like what can you do for your mind as well as your body to prepare and, you know, make a suitable home for this new baby. And so it was very different because the first and second time, I think it was almost, I didn't even know what to prepare for or how to, you know, what I needed to do. And there's, you know, you can Google that stuff, but there's not a lot of talk about it.
Welcome to season 2 of OnlyMoms. And, you know, I can kick things off without giving a little treat to all of my favorites. So if you're new here, I founded a winery, co-founded actually with my business partner, Kristen Taylor, called Mom Juice. And we're all about keeping the bullshit out of wine. So not only do we slap our ingredients on the back of the label, but we are also gluten-free, vegetarian. Yeah, not all wine is vegetarian, okay? You might just be drinking fish bladder, and that's fucking gross. Regardless, we're giving you 20% off today. So all you have to do is go to momjuicewine.com, and at the end of your order, put in OnlyMoms as your discount code, and treat yourself, girl. Right. It's interesting, too, because I feel like with the way of the internet, we're finally just having conversations about postpartum depression.
Yeah.
And there are, the space that you were in a few years ago going through these journeys. It's an isolating experience, even with the mom community around you. And it's not that anyone wouldn't support you, but it's not talked about, as you mentioned. I want to dive into acupuncture for a second. That's a really cool thing that you were doing. What are the benefits of acupuncture while pregnant?
Yeah. I am a huge evangelist for acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine. My husband is a scientist, trained in Western science. So he's always been like, oh, I'm not sure. Like, let me look at the studies.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting because, again, this is ancient knowledge that people have been using these methods for thousands of years. And my husband cannot refute that it works. Like, he does acupuncture when I take him to the acupuncturist. And so, the theory is that there's like energy in your body, and like acupuncture and acupressure points, helps your body nourish itself. And so I did acupuncture all the way from, my second pregnancy loss to, my pregnancy with Nara, my daughter. I did it all the way through. This specific, Chinese medicine doctor gave me herbs as well to support it.
Nice.
So everything's from plants. Everything that, all the herbal remedies that they have are from plants. And so I think that there's a lot of knowledge out there from many different cultures, not just, the TCM culture, but Ayurveda and other types of culture that I think is ancient wisdom that we can tap into. And so I'm a huge fan of acupuncture. I always looked forward to it because I could just take a nap.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not afraid of needles, but for any of my friends who are saying, I hate needles, I say, just close your eyes and take a nap.
Yeah, just go to sleep. Where are they actually sticking you? Is it your preference, or when you're pregnant, you get something specific?
Yeah. Well, I think it depends on the practitioner, but usually, like, I have like chronic back issues from like a volleyball injury from like many years ago. So sometimes they would do like certain points on my front. They have points for acupuncture if you're feeling sick. Like my daughter was had to be kind of like, she was late, so they had some points for like trying to get her out.
Oh my gosh, that is hilarious.
And then like for my back, because when you're pregnant, you have all these aches. Like I would flip over and do it on my side, and they have certain areas for your back, but it's a very specific methodology, and I have to say that you really need to be careful about which acupuncturist you choose. So I always go with references, people that have been there, because there's so many people out there. You just have to do your research.
Okay, so you finally get pregnant.
Yeah.
Which was great. Congratulations.
Yes.
And you're still building this company, but you were able to take the product. So walk us through what you guys were doing within the company at that time when you find out you're pregnant, and then you start your pregnancy journey.
Yes. So at that time, this was 2021. That was basically when we soft launched our product. And we were self-manufacturing. It was actually a much bigger bar than our current bar. It was about twice the size.
Wow, okay.
And we were hand pressing bars in a commercial kitchen in Los Angeles. So we didn't really televise this, but we had a small team of kitchen, people like my husband was overseeing every single batch, making sure all the vitamins and all of that were like to par. And I was helping hand press the bars.
Right.
When I got pregnant, I had horrible nausea, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. So we ended up expanding our team. And then just about a year ago, we actually switched to a co-manufacturer. So we're no longer hand pressing the bars.
Congratulations.
We have grown to a scale that, that we're out of that. We came out with this 2.0 product, which is smaller. It's 30 grams. It's shelf stable. The previous product, we said, put it in the fridge just for taste and texture purposes. This one you can just have on the go anytime. And so, it's been great since then. Operationally, manufacturing is still kind of a challenge.
Yes.
As a small business, projecting your inventory and being able to produce enough. Like we were out of stock earlier this year, which was a total logistical nightmare.
Yes.
But great to see the demand for our product.
I love that. I know I went back on you guys' social and I saw when you're eating lunch in the car, right? And it's like we're outside of the kitchen, and a lot of people don't realize what it takes to build a company, right? The grit, the sacrifice that's involved. And then you're doing this while pregnant or while going on this journey of attempting to be pregnant. And so it's just such an honorable, thing for you to be doing. And then to hear you guys are out of stock, how amazing.
So many times I'm thinking, why am I doing this? I had an art career before this. I was teaching
at different
colleges. And sometimes I think why am I doing this? But then I read reviews or I get an email from a customer who says, I could cry because I found your product. I tried 14 different prenatals and none of them worked for me. I was throwing them up. It was making me feel horrible. And actually the women that were helping, it's just so humbling. And that's really the motivation behind building this company, is to nourish, because this is like a really, really fragile and important state of life.
We're going to cheers to that. Okay, so why don't you tell us what's in your glass today?
So today I'm drinking a hojicha latte. This is a roasted green tea with lower caffeine. It's delicious. And, sometimes, most days I drink a matcha, but it's because I'm actually pregnant.
We're going to cheers to that. I'm drinking Mom Juice Sauvignon Blanc. I am not pregnant.
Cheers to that.
Yes, for a fact, not pregnant. Thank God. It's crazy because my husband actually got a vasectomy and a year ago. And he took a sample in last month, and we're still rocking and rolling. And they're like, yeah, you still need to be careful. I'm like, no, you guys
I thought it was one and done.
You guys did this incorrectly. We need to go back and schedule another surgery. There's no way, right? And so now I'm like, what on earth? I thought 3 months ago we were fine. So it is really a thank God I'm not pregnant situation. But no, for everyone listening, you have not announced that you're pregnant.
No,
and
I'm very early. Very early. Probably 7-8 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. But by the time this airs, the world will know. I love that, before we started filming, you had told me you were going to announce early. And what is your reasoning behind that?
Yeah, in terms of announcing, I want to be vulnerable and let people know earlier, because in case something happens and the pregnancy doesn't continue, I think that's the best way that people can support you.
Yeah.
With the fact that, I've had 2 pregnancy losses, I treated that a little bit differently in terms of who I told or how public I was about it. I think that there needs to be more conversation around early pregnancy, what women go through in early pregnancy. It's sometimes the hardest part of pregnancy because you're kind of suffering in silence.
Yeah.
You're feeling so nauseated and nobody knows. So you just kind of have to hold it in. And so I think part of my wanting to tell people early is, to really journey together no matter what happens.
I think that's great, especially circling back to our earlier conversation about how there are no conversations about this. It's not widely talked about. And I think that's how we get it going. Yeah. Is we have to feel comfortable and kind of break the code of we don't tell anyone until the second trimester. Who even made that up?
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know. But I think more and more women are kind of realizing the importance of being open and vulnerable and sharing their, stories of loss and difficulty. Pregnancy is not easy. Staying pregnant, getting pregnant is not easy.
Right. How are you treating your body differently this time?
I think I have so much more knowledge now than I did before. My husband is always telling me like tips and tricks, like eat more protein, like don't eat that white bread by itself.
Yeah.
But when I was pregnant with Nara, there was like 10 weeks when I could not eat anything except for white bread.
Yep.
White bread, saltines, rice cakes, like that sort of thing. And so, but I think that there's so much actually the mindset that can actually affect the nausea. And so I'm much more into like, seeking out like, acupuncture, or other like kind of alternative ways to deal with the nausea. I mean, of course, like if I eat a cracker, then I try to eat like a nut butter or a cheese, because the protein does help. And, there's practical things I've learned. Like I need to just be eating all day. Like I need to eat a little bit. Like my stomach cannot be empty or else I'm going to feel worse.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is interesting because sometimes when you're that nauseous, you're just not hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to eat anything.
No. So I want to talk a little bit about the ingredients that you guys put in your bars. And, when I was pregnant, one of the things that I did a lot of research on was, the omega-3, right? Yeah. And, what is the importance of the ingredients you guys are putting in your bars and the benefit to some of those things?
Yeah. These ingredients are all from fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. So what a lot of people don't realize is that nutrients from foods actually are seen and recognized differently by your body compared to synthetic nutrients, which are in pills, powders, or gummies. So the formulation that we came up with, is by my husband. He has a PhD in nutrition. He studied actually omega-3s for his dissertation.
Really?
So he worked with the foremost scientists that put omega-3s on the map.
Oh my gosh.
Are the reason why omega-3s are, for example, in infant baby formula. And omega-3 DHA is one of the most like powerful ingredients and powerful nutrients. We get ours from algae oil. So it's actually pure. It's the source of the omega-3. Fish eat the algae.
Yep.
And that's how they produce. So like fatty fish like salmon are a great source of DHA. But we get the algal source, which is actually the purest source because it hasn't been, processed by an animal. So omega-3 DHA is really, there's so many benefits. I wish my husband were here to talk about his dissertation. But one of the things early on that he was telling me about was it actually helps your blood circulate more. It kind of works like a blood thinner. So if you have any clotting issues, like it actually can help with that. When it comes to pregnancy, it definitely helps with like, your brain is made of fat and, baby's brain is made of fat. So you need healthy fats to kind of fuel the growth of those brain cells. And so omega-3 is one of those. And then in postpartum, actually, studies have shown that if you're taking omega-3 in pregnancy, that's one of the nutrients that can reduce your risk of postpartum depression. So omega-3, vitamin D, and calcium are three of the nutrients that we really highlight if you're to help prevent postpartum depression. And so I always thought, I'm kind of like, a melancholy artist type. Like, I always thought I was going to have like postpartum depression, and maybe it's because I was so busy and I actually had a lot of help.
Yeah.
I had like 2 months solid of help. Like I didn't experience that.
Yeah.
And so, but I really credit it to some of the nutrition and just having the knowledge of like eat fruits and vegetables when you're pregnant, because that's so powerful. There was another study that talked about these two compounds called lutein and zeaxanthin, which are prevalent in like orange colored fruits and vegetables, that if you ate more of those while pregnant, it would positively affect your child's IQ up to 7 years of age.
Really?
So I'm like, I didn't realize that fruits and vegetables are so powerful. Like, they eat five a day or whatever.
Oh my gosh.
But they're actually it's amazing, the benefits of these nutrients.
It's crazy because the only thing I craved were oranges and grapefruits.
Oh, interesting.
And I ate like 3 a day.
Yeah.
All day.
Yeah, that's great.
Wow. Okay. I'm so happy that you were able to have that conversation because, I talked to a few doctors that did research also on omega-3. And so I'm, of course, taking it while I'm pregnant. I still take it.
Yes.
But I feel like that was one of the vitamins that a lot of women were like, oh, really? Fish oil? You know?
A lot of prenatals don't have that.
Yeah. They don't.
So when I was, before we had this product, I was taking a separate one to get the omega-3 because you can't fit that into a pill. So you have to take multiple pills. But because our product is a bar, we're cramming so many nutrients into this one bar.
So when we talk about the synthetic ingredients, how is our body our body is absorbing it, just not as much as we would like.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, I think it depends on the nutrient, but for example, vitamin E is twice as well absorbed, and it has to do with the nutrient receptors. Like if you think about the way that our bodies have kind of adapted over thousands of years to food and nutrients from food, the nutrient receptors, they will recognize the synthetic nutrients, but it's not going to be like a perfect fit. It's kind of like a puzzle piece that's like a perfect fit. That's like a nutrient from food. And then a synthetic one is like a little bit off. It'll work. Maybe you need more of it to absorb the same amount as a nutrient from food. And so the other thing that synthetic nutrients lack is, they're basically engineering like vitamin C in a lab. But vitamin C from an orange or a grapefruit has all of these other compounds that I feel like there's hundreds of them that scientists don't even really understand how it works. But there's cofactors, coenzymes, and a bunch of other stuff like fiber, from the pulp and stuff that you get that actually science has shown helps to absorb those nutrients. So vitamin C in an orange and vitamin C from food is 300 times more potent than vitamin C from emergency. So
that's crazy.
So, my husband's always like, just eat an apple instead of taking your emergency.
Right. I know. It's better.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, my kids chugging down that emergency, they act like it's the end of the world. I mean, I've never seen anything like they fall onto the floor and
because they don't like it.
Yes. And I'm begging them to take it. I'm like, it's flu season. Okay. School, germs, all the things. And they go crazy. That's really cool. Thank you for educating us on that because it was felt like everyone is like, just take your vitamins. Yeah. I'm like, I think there's more to this that we should be researching, and I wasn't necessarily finding the answers that I felt good with. It's like WebMD, what are the credible sites? And no one is talking about this. It's always just take your prenatal.
Right. And take your supplements.
Yep.
Yeah. And try to eat well, but we really want to. It would be amazing to be a resource.
Yeah.
We of course have this product that makes it easy for you to get your vitamins from foods in a small convenient thing, but our mission and our passion is really to educate and to make this type of real food lifestyle accessible. Because I didn't realize until I did the research that broccoli is like one of the healthiest vegetables in the world. And it's like got all these cancer-fighting properties. Anti-aging. Yeah. Broccoli, Brussels sprouts, like dark leafy greens like kale and spinach. Amazing. Like they will change your life if you eat them on a regular basis.
Yeah. It's wild. How long should we be taking eating our prenatal bar post baby?
That is a great question. So most practitioners say at a minimum 6 months.
Okay.
But in my experience, I felt like I was postpartum for like 2 years.
And I'm still postpartum.
I mean, some people say like I'm postpartum like several years. Yeah. So definitely the duration of breastfeeding. So I breastfed until like 23 months, I think.
You are a champion. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the first couple months were hard, but then after that, it's just like baby on the boob.
Yep.
She's gonna be fine. She's happy.
She's figuring it out.
Yeah.
That's great.
So definitely the duration of breastfeeding. But I always say, postpartum can last years. It depends on your experience, your specific recovery. And I think that even we have customers who are on our products who are not even pregnant, not trying to get pregnant.
I also feel like your recovery period doesn't start until breastfeeding's over.
Yeah.
So, you know, a lot of women are like, well, yeah, you know, it's been a year. I still feel so postpartum. Well, you're still breastfeeding. Your body is not yours yet.
Oh, yeah.
It is still the baby's.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know?
If you don't have enough calcium, your baby's getting that from your bones.
Yes. Yeah.
Leaching it from your bones.
I'm like, all of a sudden, like, do I have arthritis?
Yeah.
What's happening?
Yeah.
You know, you do have to take care and watch that because they're actually draining you dry.
It's true. Literal.
Yes. I want to switch the conversation a little bit into culture and motherhood, right? I know we shared before we came on, but I'm half Vietnamese, you're Korean, and your husband is Iranian.
Mm-hmm.
So when you guys met, you know, was it interesting to get to know each other's cultures and how your way of doing things?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I actually didn't really know any other Iranian people before I met Bazan. Yeah, he, you know, basically getting to know his family was my introduction to Persian culture. But there's a lot of similarities, I think, in Middle Eastern and in Asian culture.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the emphasis on family, the emphasis on education, this collective sense of identity.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think that our experiences were a little different. Like my parents immigrated from South Korea in like 1980, and they came kind of with nothing. And they, you know, my dad did a bunch of odd jobs. He was a taxi driver, he was a janitor, and, you know, and so, but he went to one of the top universities in Korea, and then he kind of started from nothing. So, so it was definitely a journey. And, you know, my husband's family, they actually came over right before the revolution. And so my father-in-law came for his master's degree and then ended up staying and finishing his PhD here. And so, yeah, both of us, like we have very little family, like maybe an aunt and an uncle here.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of our other family is still in Korea and Iran.
Oh, wow.
So it definitely is a different experience of family.
Yeah.
Like, you know, sometimes we're a little jealous, like, oh my gosh, you know, our other friends, they say they have like 50 cousins. And like, they get so many Christmas presents.
Yeah. Or free babysitters.
Yes.
You know, little extra help.
Yeah, that's big.
Mm-hmm.
In childcare.
Yeah, that it is, because when you're by yourself, you know, I mean, we're lucky we have teenagers because they love their little sister.
Built-in babysitter.
Yeah, it's a built-in situation. But if that weren't the case, you know, my family's not there. And to trust someone with your baby before they can actually tell you what's going on is so heavy on my soul.
Yeah.
Are there things that you guys are teaching your daughter that are specific to your culture or to his?
We definitely trying to speak our languages.
Okay.
My Korean is, you know, maybe like first grade level, so I could get by. But it's so interesting because babies are like sponges. Mm-hmm. They just will retain everything. So when I speak Korean, even broken Korean, she knows I'm speaking Korean, and she'll like start saying yes and no in Korean. And then, of course, the food too.
Yep.
Like my husband, you know, is Iranian. They have a huge food culture. Mm-hmm. She loves all the foods. Korma sabzi.
Yep.
Like all of the foods. I think we're just trying to, you know, stay connected to family. Mm-hmm. You know, our families are both on the East Coast and we're in LA, so we're trying to see them more often. Mm-hmm. We're trying to FaceTime them. But yeah, I think that in terms of culture, like language and food are the basics of what we're starting.
I think that she'll be off to a great start with, you know, going in with that, right? Yeah, I would say I don't speak any Vietnamese, and then my siblings, I'm like, what's happening? They play this game where it's like, oh, let's only speak Vietnamese and see who comes out alive.
That's fun.
It's only the parents coming out alive. Like, no one else is that good.
Yes.
No, I love that. All right. What's next for Tend?
So we are coming out with a new product in a few months. It's going to be kind of an extension of our current product.
Okay.
And so I don't know how specific that can be, but
that's okay.
It's going to be basically for women post-baby.
Okay.
And then like our vision for Tend is really to provide this kind of real food nutrient in a convenient format for every member of the family.
Okay.
So our top request from our moms is, hey, my toddler's stealing my bar. Can you make something for him?
Mhm.
So we have that, brewing and in the works. But yeah, eventually we're gonna hopefully have products for grandma, grandpa, perimenopausal, like there's just so many stages of life that need specific nutrition that there's a lot of segments of the population that need more kind of support.
Yeah. Well, I think you work so hard as a brand to build, for its education and then trust and loyalty. And at that point, once you have me hooked, I do want to order all of my family stuff from the same place,
So yeah, we want to journey with the mom.
Yeah.
The mom first.
Moms
run the world.
They make over 85% of the household purchases.
Yes, they are the decision making.
They are,
always. Person. So,
okay, where can we find you?
We are on social at Tend Prenatal. We are at tendprenatal.com, and you can stay up to date on our new releases and new partnerships there.
I love it, Hannah. It was an absolute pleasure having you today.
It was so fun.
I know. I cannot wait to try your products. I know that we've got some potential discount codes and whatnot for our listeners that we'll chat about when this is going to air, and I'll get those recorded for them so that everyone else can also try. But thank you again for coming to the OnlyMoms podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Oh, on the pregnancy and on the business. So much is going well.
Cheers.
Okay, ladies, we've got an exciting sponsor for this episode, Tend Prenatal. If you're pregnant or planning to be, Tend Prenatal has you covered with their delicious, snackable prenatal vitamins made entirely from whole foods. No more choking down pills. Just grab a 10 bar and know you're getting all the essential nutrients your body and baby need. And because we love you, we're teamed up with Tend to offer you 15% off any order with the code ONLYMOMS, that's ONLYMOMS, at tendprenatal.com. Happy snacking.